Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and today I'm going to tell you exactly how do you know when you have a problem with money. And when I was 21, 22 years old, I read this book called Unf Yourself by Gary Bishop. And the whole idea was basically, once you expose the facts of your life, you can no longer make an excuse and say, hey, I didn't know I had a problem. And then the only option you had is basically saying, hey, do I want to change or do I not want to change? So the goal for this video is to tell you exactly, hey, you have a problem, and if you do, here's how you fix it. But be honest and say, hey, do I actually want to fix it, or do I want to stay in the same problems that I actually have right now with money? That's the goal for this video. And by the way, by the end, I will give you guys some solutions. So if you have money problems, if you implement these solutions, it's what helped me go from making very little money to making a lot of money today. But not just that, not the money making side, but just knowing exactly how to handle money, how to invest money, and how to actually not waste my money anymore. That's the goal for this video. And I read this comment on YouTube that said basically, Tommy, money is like oxygen. You take it for granted, but when you don't have it, it's the only thing you actually think about. And it makes sense, the same thing with money. When you don't have it, that's when you miss it the most, okay? You see the importance of it right then and there. And lastly, I read this quote also that said basically, Tommy, wealth is not about having very large obsessions or things you actually want, but it's about having very little wants. That we can focus on exactly what you actually want and not have to spend so much money all the time. Now, if you guys are new here, I post videos every single day, so you should also subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified. And it's about also dismantle the like button. Now, the very first way you can find out basically if you have a money problem, it's a very easy tell sign, is going to be, are you living paycheck to paycheck? Now, I saw this TED Talk where the speaker did this little exercise, and I want to share with you guys also. Now, I want you guys to comment down below, yes, if this actually relates to you. Comment down below, yes, if your first job makes you less money than your current job today. So comment down below, yes. And for most of you, it's going to be obviously yes, because when you first start a job for the very first time, your first ever job is usually going to pay you very little compared to what you make today. But also comment down below, yes, if you also, for example, still feel like you don't have enough money by the end of the month, like you're almost living paycheck to paycheck. If the answer is yes, I'll tell you why. It's called Parkinson's Law. And the whole idea is basically that your expenses are going to rise to the level of your income. That's why you have someone, for example, that goes to college and they make very little, but they're fine. But once they graduate, they get a big salary, and all of a sudden, they still are living paycheck to paycheck because basically their expenses goes up and up with their income. And they can never actually go to a point where basically they actually make more than they actually spend. And that's going to be very important. But if you have that problem, paycheck to paycheck, obviously you got a problem with money. Stick around to the end, that way you know exactly how to fix it. Now, number two, the second tell sign is going to be you are unable to save money. And whenever you actually have to do something, you have to dig into your savings, or for example, you have to go into debt. I know people out there that whenever they have a savings accounts, it might as well be a checking accounts because they constantly have to keep transferring back and forth. And whenever they have an emergency basically, they have to dig into their savings, or for example, use their credit cards as a little emergency account, okay? And that's not what you actually want to have. But if you do have that problem there, where you can't even save money, where every time you have a problem, you go into your savings, or for example, you have to go into debt, it's an obvious tell sign that basically you do have problems with money. Now, number three, guys, is basically you live in fear of losing your job. Like it terrifies you. Like you feel as if I lose my job, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be homeless, okay? Now, I remember, for example, it was 2019 and my dad passed away and I was working this corporate job. And I hated it so much and I did not want to work there. Now, thankfully for me, I built up a business. So when I called and I said, hey, I'm not coming back, I did not feel that scared about it because I knew, hey, I have money on the side, a stream of income to take care of myself. Now, that's not the same case, for example, some of my friends, my brothers, and also some of my family members, okay? I have brothers that basically, whenever they get that call saying, hey, you're gonna get laid off, they don't know what's going to be for dinner, they don't know how to pay their rent, and they don't know exactly what's going to happen. So if you feel that way, that basically, hey, if I lose my job, I don't know what I'm gonna do for rent payments, for my credit payments, all this stuff, then guess what? You have a money problem, okay? I'm gonna try to help you fix it, so stick around until the end. But that is an obvious tell sign. The goal is that, yes, it's always going to be scary to lose a job, but it's good to know that basically, hey, I have an emergency account. That way, if anything happens, I have at least 3 to 6 months to figure out exactly what I'm going to do. Now, number 4, guys, is basically if you have considered, for example, bankruptcy, defaulting, getting another loan to consolidate all your debt, or for example, just saying, hey, I'm gonna stop paying my credit card and hope for the best. All those things right there are obviously tell signs that basically you have a problem with money. You know, I get calls every day saying, Tommy, well, maybe I should stop paying my credit card. That way, they're open to negotiations. Maybe, Tommy, I should go ahead and go bankrupt to try to get a fresh start. Tommy, I just don't know what to do. Can I just get one big loan and get it all in that one big loan? And before you know it, they go back to the other credit lines and they also max it out. Those are obvious tell signs that you basically have a problem. Now, number 5 and last one here is basically you don't know how much money you actually owe. That's crazy, right? But yeah, if you don't know exactly how much money you owe, not to the nickel or to the penny, but you should know exactly how much you actually owe, like in credit card debt, in student loan debt. I know people that basically, they don't know how much to pay in interest for the student loan debt, or for example, how much they actually owe. They just forget about it. And that's one thing. When you start neglecting your bills and your payments and all those things, those are all signs that basically you have money problems. Now, so far, if you got all the way to the end of this video and you're like, Tommy, I check at least one of these boxes, the answer is, well, you no longer have an excuse to say, hey, I just did not know I had a problem, because now we know for sure you have a problem. Now, how do you fix it, right? That's the most important part here. Well, I'm gonna teach you something called the triple B budget, or the bare bone budget. What does it mean? It means you create a budget where you basically only take care of the necessities, okay? Only the things you need. And every budget just has, for example, 4 fundamentals, expenses, okay? That's really about it, okay? 4 essential expenses, and everything else outside of that is basically just a want, not a real need. Now, what are those 4 right there? And by the way, people get these 4 expenses and they try to make them very expensive by basically getting the best of the best, but then they go broke, broke, broke. Now, what are the 4 expenses here, okay? You have shelter. Shelter should not be more than 33% of your monthly income. If it is more than that, in reality, you're overspending. Consider moving, consider selling the home, consider all those factors. If your rent is like half of your income, if you lose your job or get laid off temporarily, how are you supposed to pay? It costs you way too much money. It leaves no room for saving or investing. On top of that, the second expense is going to be utilities, okay? Utilities means, for example, the things you really, really need, okay? For example, light, you need that. Water, you need that. Internet in the 21st century, you need that. But you don't need high-speed 1 gigabyte internet in your house, okay? And you also need a phone plan, but you don't need an iPhone. You don't need any of that stuff. So just get, for example, I think Mint Mobile, you have also Tello, you have also a lot of companies out there that offer, for example, bills or phone plans that are basically between $5 to $10, all the way up to $30 for an unlimited plan. So you don't need to pay so much money for that bill either. Number 3, Number 3 is going to be groceries. I hate the idea of people spending, for example, $700 a month on food when they're broke. If you're broke, just don't do it, because you're broke. You got a problem. Now, if you're wealthy, you're independent, all these things, great. Spend that money, you're fine. You'll make more. Doesn't matter. But if you're broke, you spend so much money on food, the answer is you got a problem. Now, you shouldn't spend more than $200 per person. That's enough for a lot of chicken breast, a lot of rice, also a lot of black beans, and also a lot of vegetables also. You don't need to spend that much money on food, and you don't need to be going out to eat food all the time. The answer is keep it simple, keep it cooking at home, and keep it meal prepping. That way you save a lot of money. And lastly, transportation, okay? That means getting a car. You don't need the 2021 model or the 2022 model or the 2023 model. You don't need a Mercedes, a Lexus, or a Rolls Royce, any of these cars, right? You don't need them. All you need is a vehicle to get from point A to point B. That's all you need. If you have a lease, return it. If you have a car where you have payments on it, oh my gosh, I borrowed money to buy this car, I got a loan on it. The answer is sell the car, cut your losses, and then go ahead and basically buy a used car for a good price. But as long as you have all of these payments, massive payments, left and right, how are you supposed to get ahead? The answer is usually you don't. And a house has a lot of expenses, a car has a lot of expenses, groceries and utilities, those are very moderate expensive. People basically overspend on those a lot of the times. But those right there are the 4 main expenses. So to make this budget, basically on one side, just put exactly what your income is. So I make $4,000 per month, right? Boom. On top of that, what are my expenses? Well, shelter, utilities, groceries, transportation. Here it is right here. Everything that does not fit that, guess what I do? I go ahead and I cut it from my budget because right now I just don't need it. Once you're financially free and you have a lot of income to spare, you can go ahead and buy all those things that you actually want but don't need. That's the core idea. Now, if you subtract, for example, your income from your expenses and you have money left over, that's called positive cash flow. That money can then be used to do several things. For example, paying back debts, building an emergency account, investing, and then, for example, potentially saving up for a down payment, saving up for a wedding, and all of those other things that life is going to throw at you. Now, the second thing I want to teach you, okay, you have that right there, the triple B budget, okay, bare bone budget, not big booty butt budget, okay, that's not what it stands for. But overall, the second thing is going to be the 6 jobs for lazy money. Money has a job to do. And you know, one thing I've learned about myself is basically I'm good with money, but I'm not a whiz with money. If I have, for example, a bad money system, I would go broke very quickly. I like shopping on Amazon. I like buying things I don't need, honestly. So what I do, I created a system to make sure I just don't have access to actually do those things anymore. Now, what are these 6 jobs for money? Job 1 is going to be emergencies. Your money should give you security. So save between 3 to 6 months for emergencies. Initially, if you have a lot of debt, focus on paying off your debts first and just saving up, for example, $1,000 for emergencies in case anything actually goes wrong. But you only build a full emergency account once you're actually debt free. The second job is going to be investing. If you're in debt, paying somebody 18%, 24%, or 35%, the answer is you're not currently investing. You're paying off your debts, obviously, okay? So when you do invest between 10 to 20%, and that's about it. Into what? Retirement accounts, your 401k, your Roth IRA, and also picking your investments, very important. That's going to be index funds, in my opinion. That's what I do. Third job is going to be paying off debt. That should also be one of the jobs of your money, getting you freedom by paying off your debts. So how do you do this? You spend between 20 to 40% of your income trying to pay off those debts by using the avalanche method, meaning you pay the debts with the highest APR first. All the other debt, you pay the minimum payments on them, but pay all the extra money towards the debt with the highest APR. It's the third job. The fourth job is going to be expenses. I've never met anyone in my life that doesn't have any expenses, okay? Again, shelter, utilities, groceries, and lastly, transportation. Those right there are your expenses. Try not to spend more than 70% of your income on expenses, or if you're really not that great at it or don't make that much money, no more than 90% of your income should be spent on expenses. That way you have extra income to go ahead and use it to build actual wealth. Job 5 is going to be fun. If you are broke, if you are in debt, if you have money problems, the answer is fun is important, but it's not going to be your priority right here. So just spend around 1% of your money on having fun and tasting money. That's about it. Now, lastly, you also have charity. Giving money away to a good cause is going to change the way you see the world, and that's very important. Now, Tommy, if I give all my money, all these 6 jobs, How would I put this into a system? The answer is, when I first started, I had envelopes. That's what I did, like my grandma. Envelopes, put them into envelopes. So whenever I got paid, I split it into all of these accounts according to the percentage that made the most sense. Okay, so if I'm paying debt, the big bulk is going towards debt and then expenses. I'm not really investing or anything crazy, but I am saving $1,000 for emergencies in case anything happens. My recommendation is save $1,000 first for emergencies before you start paying off your debts, okay? That's the core idea. Or you can always get, for example, SoFi Money. If you get SoFi Money, it allows you to actually open up different accounts within one account. So when it comes to emergencies, you can have one account for emergencies in there. When it comes to investments, well, just have your employer take that money automatically so you don't think about it. Or have, for example, the company you actually use take that money automatically also. That way you don't think about it also. When it comes also to debt payments, set it on auto pay. That way you don't gotta worry about it. You do things automatically. The point is you create a system, that way you don't sabotage yourself. When it comes to expenses, have a separate debit card that includes your expenses like groceries, and for example, you can have in there your gas also. But when it comes to your rent and your utilities, don't have it in there so you don't go ahead and spend it. But make all those bills also automated so they get charged to you automatically, okay? And lastly, when it comes to fun, you can have 1%, just give it to yourself in cash, use that to go out there and have fun. And charity, just have charity pull money automatically from your bank account. That way it's also done automatically. When you first start out, okay, it should look something like this if you're in debt. 1% for emergencies, but you should have $1,000 in there already. 1% for investment, so you know how it works and how to get started and how to automate it. And then, for example, 20 to 40% for debt payments, and then for expenses, between 50 to 70% to potentially even 90%. Try to get it as low as possible. If you rent an apartment, rent a room instead to lower your cost of living. When it comes to fun, just 1%. When it comes to charity, between 1% to 10%. Some people tithe. If you do tithe, just do 10% and then do the budget with the rest of the money left over. That is the core idea, but that's just the beginning, and that's all you need for right now. You need to get really good at managing your money. So guys, I hope this video actually helped you. It showed you that basically you have a problem with money, but most importantly, it showed you a glimpse of how to go out there and actually fix those problems and actually get started towards making your life just a tiny bit better. Thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified. On top of that, share this video with your friends. That way they can actually learn also. And if you guys want to talk to me one-on-one, well, join me on my third channel called TommyBryson, where I take calls one-on-one from Monday to Friday for 30 minutes. Subscribe over there on that channel. On top, if you want to follow me on Instagram, here's my Instagram right here at TommyBryson. And if you want to watch more content like this, here's another video right here on how to actually invest money. And on top, if you want to click my face right here, click my face right here. See you guys tomorrow. And as always, peace.